What is a demonic moment on a roller coaster? For this video's purpose, I define it as when a designer designs a layout and puts an element in there and just sits back and because the element is just that insane. I've compiled a list of 13 elements that I have personally experienced that fit the bill. Number 13. The Helix on the Beast at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. This is the highlight of the ride for me, and it's absolutely insane. The drop coming off the second lift hill is extremely long and gradual, but you just keep picking up speed as you plummet down that drop before you explode into that tunnel and immediately start a left-hand turn which throws you to the side of the train in the dark of the tunnel at maximum speed. This epic coaster was designed by the park, and although a lot of this ride has weird elements and straight track, you have to give them credit for this crazy element. Number 12. The eruption out of the volcano on Volcano the Blast Coaster at Kings Dominion in Doswell, Virginia. It's not enough that this was the first ever launched inverted coaster. It's not enough that it tops out at 70 miles per hour or has 4 inversions. No, Intamin and Stengel Engineering had to literally shoot the riders out of a volcano and into an inversion. At 70 miles per hour, you're thrusted straight up into the dark, emerging into the daylight and immediately finding yourself upside down. In its earlier years, there was even fire coming out of the top along with the train. This was an insane, one-of-a-kind element that will be sorely missed. Number 11. The second half of Coaster at Playland in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I'm not sure how demonic Carl E. Fair was since he designed this coaster back in the 1950s, and maybe the second half wasn't necessarily intended to be as insane as it turned out to be. But the second half legitimately tries to kill you, especially in the back of the train. You get absolutely tossed out of your seat on a few occasions directly into that hard, single-position lap bar. Usually rides with restraints like this don't have airtime hills like that, and it's a jarring experience to be thrown into your lap bar like that. Number 10. The twisted airtime hill on the RMC Raptor clones. The Raptors are of course Railblazer at California's Great America in Santa Clara, California, and Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta Texas in San Antonio, Texas. These Raptor clones are famous for their incredible pacing. These trains rip through the course, and there's no crazier element on these rides than the twisted airtime hill after the dive loop and before the S-curve. Alan Schilke wanted to give us some mad ejector airtime, and this is one of those moments where you pray those upstop wheels are screwed on tight. Taking an ejector hill at that speed and with a twist puts it solidly on this list. Number 9. The Rolling Thunder Hill on El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. Stengel is at it again. This is the airtime hill near the end of the ride before the switchback section that dives over the old Rolling Thunder track. This was the coaster that operated next to El Toro until 2013. Some people say that this thing pulls up to -2 Gs and it throws you out of your seat with a crazy pop of ejector airtime. This ride has great airtime on the first drop and over the first 2 camelbacks, and it ends with this moment that was designed to fling you out of your seat one last time with incredible force. Number 8. The Lagoon Roll on Cannibal at Lagoon in Farmington, Utah. Lagoon designed this ride in-house and they went all out. This 208-foot, 70-mile-per-hour monstrosity put Lagoon on the map, and it's full of crazy elements. One of them is so bizarre that it didn't have a name, so the park dubbed it the Lagoon Roll. It's really 2 inline twists back to back, except the first one twists to the left and the second one twists to the right. You take these elements coming off the mid-course brakes, so you gradually ease into them, giving some insane hang time. And did I mention that this ride only has lap bars? This is a wild element that is arguably the best part of the ride. But is it the only element on Cannibal that makes this demonic list? No, it's not. Number 7. The 116-degree first drop on Cannibal at Lagoon in Farmington, Utah. I've been on some crazy beyond vertical drops before, like Maverick, Fahrenheit, and Daredevil Dive, but none of them compare to the 116-degree, 208-foot drop on Cannibal. This is a full 26 degrees beyond vertical with just a lap bar, and it's hard to prepare yourself for the drop as you see the track wrap underneath itself and you're actually falling at that 116-degree angle for a long time. It's not some quick pop of 116 degrees before it levels out. You definitely feel the weirdness of falling at that angle. Now, TMNT Shellraiser at Nickelodeon Universe is 5 degrees steeper, and I think it's an overall better ride. But because Shellraiser is shorter and has over-the-shoulder restraints, I think that Cannibal's drop still deserves to be on this list. Number 6. The launch on Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm in Buena Park, California. For anyone who's familiar with the landscape of Knott's, you know that there's very little space to work with, and there's no room for expansion. The park is surrounded by businesses and homes and basically takes up a large city block. When Windjammer was removed in 2000, the park hired Intamin to build the first Accelerator coaster. Given the small footprint, there would not be enough space for a long launch track. Intamin and Stengel's solution would be to build a 157-foot hydraulic launch track that would accelerate the train right out of the station from 0 to 82 miles per hour in 2.3 seconds. They could have theoretically made the top hat less than 205 feet and had a less crazy rate of acceleration, but what fun is that? The result is an out-of-your-mind gut punch on every single ride as you go flying up that top hat, but your sanity is left in the station. To this day, it's the best launch on any coaster that I've experienced. Number 5. The blackout turn on Intimidator 305 at Kings Dominion in Doswell, Virginia. This Giga is known as one of the most intense coasters in the world, and although the whole ride focuses on intensity, its defining moment is the turn right after the first drop. Intamin decided to put a 300-foot drop on this monster, and rather than an airtime hill or an overbank, they went with a drawn-out turn that would be taken at 90 miles per hour. This element absolutely crushes you into your seat as the blood rushes from your head to your feet before you come out of that turn and into the hill under the lift. This element was so demonic that Intamin actually had to remedy the blackout effects it was having on riders by first putting trims on the first drop, and then later reprofiling that turn so it would exert less Gs. It's still insane in its current form, but I can only imagine what it was like taken at full speed before the track work, and that's why it's in the top 5. Number 4. The giant pretzel loop on Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California. The B&M Flying Coaster pretzel loop is pretty standard. In fact, all 5 B&M flyers that I've ridden have a pretzel loop, and they're all very intense. But Tatsu is a different beast. This coaster is situated so far off the ground for the entire ride, which makes the flying aspect that much better, and it's the reason why it's my favorite flying coaster. The only time you touch the ground on this coaster is at the bottom of the 124-foot tall pretzel loop, 26 feet taller than Manta's and 46 feet taller than the Superman clones. This coaster has a max speed of 62 miles per hour, and I believe that this is reached at the bottom of the number 4 demonic element on this list. You dive into this element head first, and the positive G-forces are insane. You especially feel it on your face, which feels like Stengel is ripping it off the entire time. For an otherwise graceful and gentle ride, B&M saw the opportunity to take their signature pretzel loop to the extreme with Tatsu. Number 3. The spinning vertical drop out of the station on Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. The world's first mock extreme spinner is sometimes criticized for being a generally mild ride, but the critics are not talking about the first drop out of the station. The station starts off 100 feet off the ground, so the train just rolls right out of the station into a vertical drop as the cars are spinning. You might take this drop facing forward, backwards, or sideways. I love this drop so much in the back that it's the only row that I rode in, because I wanted the maximum amount of whip, and in the back car you'll be falling down sideways. This was a brilliant idea for Mach to have this as their first element, and I don't care who you are. If you have 1,000 credits or if it's your first coaster, that drop out of the station will get to you and there's no way to prepare for it. Number 2. The 400-foot vertical twisted drop on Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. Taking the Accelerator prototype to the next level, Intamin and Cedar Point teamed up in 2003 to build a version more than twice as tall. This one would not have the 2 overbanks that Accelerator has. It would have a drop right into the brake run. But the one element that Top Thrill Dragster would feature is a 270-degree spiral drop. It wasn't enough for Intamin to have a twisted 400-foot drop. They had to make it a 270-degree vertical spiral with nothing but a T-bar holding you in. I know a lot of people tend to think that a regular twisted drop would be better, and maybe they're right, but it doesn't take away from the insanity and the demonic idea of Stengel to have people spiraling face first to the ground on the world's first strata coaster. Before I get to number 1, let's talk about a demonic element that never came to be. The Heartline Roll on Maverick at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. After that second launch and dive over the lake, Maverick originally had a Heartline roll before the Stangle dive that would have been absolute sheer insanity. After installing it and running some tests, it was determined to be putting too much stress on the track and it was removed, replaced with an S-curve. It's a shame that this wasn't even in place for a year, or a month, or even a day, so we could hear stories about how crazy this element could have been. Number 1. The 215-foot face-first vertical drop on X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California. We've seen a lot of Stangle on this list, but the number 1 spot goes to Alan Schilke for Aerodynamics' Last Stand, the fourth dimension monster that played a big role in the company's bankruptcy in 2002. This whole ride is full of insane elements, and it was such an innovative coaster when it opened. It's the type of coaster that would be unimaginable even 10 years before its opening in late 2001. So how does Alan Schilke kick off such an insane ride? How about a backwards face-first flip down a near vertical drop into a ditch? If you've never ridden X2, put it on your bucket list, if for no other reason than this face-first drop from Hypercoaster Heights. It's one of the best drops of all time, and it all started with the demonic idea to drop riders in this completely unprecedented way. So that's going to do it for the top 13 demonic elements that I've been on. And there are a lot more out there that I haven't ridden yet, like Dodo Dompa's Launch, Gravity Max's Tilt Track, or Karnan's Surprise. But this list was just for the elements that I've experienced. So let me know what you think and what elements would make your list. Everybody have a happy Halloween, and I'll see you all next time.